So you should be following along with the Google form or worksheet that goes along with this to learn about how to perform two-step equations. However, before we start with the two-step equations, we're going to do what's called a warm-up review. So this is what this is. These are just one-step equations that we're starting with. So our goal is to isolate the variable by removing the constant, okay? So we're going to move the 12 by using the inverse of addition. Some people say it's the opposite, some people say different things, but the technical mathematical word is the inverse of addition. And the inverse of addition means subtraction, or adding by its opposite. So when I do that, 12 minus 12 makes this 0, which goes away, and you get m equals 10 minus 12. We have recently learned our rules, and so what that means is I have to do 12 minus 10, I get 2, and then I have to think which is further from 0, and that would be, in this case, the negative 12. So it gets that sign. So my answer is 2, but then I have to think which one is further from 0, and in this case, it is the 12, so the answer is m equals negative 2. Okay, doing the same problem down here, we are going to isolate the variable by moving the constant, which is minus 9. So I'm going to do the opposite, use the inverse, add 9 to both sides. So g then equals, and again, we have that think situation. They are different. So we're going to find the difference, which means we do 9 minus 2, we get 7. Second thing that we think is which is furthest from the 0? And in this case, the one furthest from 0 is positive. So this is positive 7. That's our answer. All right. In this one, we have a situation where it is 7. This means 7 times y. So the opposite of multiplication would be division. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 7. That turns negative 7 divided by 7 turns into 1. So I have 1y left. But then I have to think of our tic-tac-toe. We have negative 28 divided by 7, so I have a negative, a positive, so my answer then has to be negative. So 28 divided by 7 is 4, and it will be negative. So my answer is negative 4. I have told you that it is extremely important that you memorize those rules that we learned the last couple of classes. We've been practicing in several different ways, and I'm reviewing those steps here. Okay, we are solving for the variable a divided by 9. So that means divided by. So I have to multiply both sides by 9. Guess what? We have another situation with the positive and a negative. So a equals negative 4 times 9. So tic-tac-toe. Which one does it fit upon? We have a negative and we have a positive. So negative, positive, my answer then has to be negative. So negative 4 times 9 is negative 36. That's our answer. So those are all one-step equations. Those are supposed to be review. But it is review adding in the new rules that we're supposed to know about adding and subtracting, multiplying and dividing with our positives and negatives. I've told you, these are all intertwined. You have to have mastery of working with positives and negatives. You're going to have to think every single time you do one of these problems from here on out. All right, so now let's just add more to ya. All right, we're dealing with the fractions that we've been dealing with. So in this case, I'm gonna stick with red. Nope, gonna stick with green. We'll do Christmas colors. So 2/3, that means 2/3 times x. So the inverse of multiplication is division 2/3 divided by 2/3. Well, 2/3 divided by 2/3 turns into 1. So we have 1x equals 10 divided by 2/3. We have in our DMR practiced dividing by a fraction. So I'm going to keep, change, flip. Which realistically means multiply by reciprocal. So x equals 10 over 1 times the reciprocal 3 over 2, which then equals 30 over 2. I have to make sure that that is not an improper fraction. Answer is x equals 15. This is a lot. This is why these are called lessons. We have to do the practicing. We have to do the watching. We have to do the understanding. All right, we're going to solve for the variable, and we again have the situation, but now we're adding in negatives to it too. Oh boy. So this is multiplying by a fraction. So we're going to divide by a fraction, both sides. When you do this, that equals 1. So 1w equals -8 divided by 4/9. We're going to multiply by the reciprocal. Which is keep, change, flip. Okay, so I keep the 8 over 1. So w equals 8 over 1, -8 over 1, times the reciprocal 9 over 4. -8 times 9, that's that rule. Tic-tac-toe, -8 times 9 is 72. But in my tic-tac-toe, I have a negative times a positive, so this equals -72 over 4. Oh boy, then I have to reduce. There's a lot of steps. 72 divided by 4 is 1. 32, 8. So bring your negative, 18 is your answer. So your answer is W equals -18. This is probably the messiest I have ever tried to solve some problems, but we're using a whole lot of things, guys. Again, the things I'm going to have you practice is not going to have all these rules, but I want to make sure that you've seen them and you keep hearing me say it. Okay, we have another negative, so we got to think again. Okay, so it's a fraction. That means I'm going to divide by the fraction. Okay, that turns this into 1. So 1k equals, I have to divide this side by -6/5 as well. So 12 divided by -6/5. By now you've heard me say, keep, change, flip. So k equals 12, keep, change to multiplication, flip 5 over -6. And I'm going to solve. 12 times 5 is 60. 1 times -6 is -6. So 60 divided by -6, using our rule, I have a positive, a negative. I should end up with a negative. K then equals -10, because this goes to there. We're applying all the rules that we already know, that we've been working on. Told you, it's going to get, you got to have mastery of a few. All right, so now we are doing the same thing. I have a negative again, so I'm going to divide by the fraction, -1/2. That turns this into 1. But this side has to be divided by -1/2 as well. So -9/1 divided by -1/2. Well, I wrote that wrong. Probably should have written it a different way. Apologize. -1/2 means keep, change, flip. 1m equals keep. -9/1 change times -2/1. I flipped it. So that'll equal -9 times -2. A negative times a negative on our tic-tac-toe will end up being a positive. So it's 18/1. So m equals positive 18. All right, so those are review, but it's review of a lot of things. The assignments that I'm going to give you are going to be easier, but we need to get into the two-step equations. So now that we've done some fractions, I'm not going to hold you accountable for fractions at this point, but we are going to deal with the thing that we did at the very beginning. So at the very beginning, we just dealt with the inverse. We started moving things over, so I'm talking about this stuff, these basics, using our inverse, okay? All right, so solving for this variable. The first thing that I need to do is move the constant. The constant is the one that doesn't change. It's the 8, okay? And so in this case, to move the constant, I'm going to use the inverse, which is the opposite of addition. I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. That eliminates this, turns this into 0. 50 minus 8 will be 42. Second thing that you want to do is to remove the coefficient. The coefficient is the number attached to the variable, which is the letter. So I want to remove this. I need to get x alone. So do I need the 0 anymore? No. So let's rewrite it. 6x equals 42. So 6x means 6 times x. So I'm going to divide both sides by 6. That turns this into 1. 42 divided by 6 is 7. So I wrote 1x. Do I need that one? No, ma'am. No, sir. So my answer is x equals 7. So this is a little less stressful than what we were doing before with the fractions and all that other stuff. But we could still run into some positive and negative rules. Solving for this variable. I want you to press pause. So I want you to push pause. I want you to try it alone. And then I want you to push play again to see if you got it right. In class, I can make sure that students are doing that, but if you're at home, I can't. So I'm going to go ahead and start now. So in order to do this, I want to remove the constant, which is this, -5. I'm going to do that by doing the opposite, the inverse. Okay? That turns this into 0. 11 plus 5 is 16. Do I need the 0 anymore? No, ma'am. So I'm going to rewrite this as 2n equals 16. 2n means 2 times n. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. That again is the inverse of multiplication. It's the opposite. When I divide 2 by 2, I'm left with 1n equals 16 divided by 2 is 8. Do I need that 1 anymore? Nope, I don't. So I'm going to rewrite it as n equals 8. And that one is finished. If you got it right, great job. If you got it wrong, we're going to keep going. So this next one you can watch and not push pause because it's the first one that I am like, oh, that's kind of negative. I'm going to freak out. So I don't want you to freak out. Go ahead and do it along with me. So I'm going to start with the removing this constant. I want to move this constant first. So I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides. That turns this into 0. And 13 minus 9, those are opposite, so that's just basically 13 minus 9, which is 4. Which one has the bigger absolute value? Which one is further from 0, the 13 or the 9? So in this case, the 13 is further from 0, so it stays positive. I'm going to rewrite this as negative 4k equals 4 because I don't need that 0. Negative 4k means negative 4 times k. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 4. That turns this into 1, positive 1. But this side is 4 divided by negative 4. So reminder of our tic-tac, or tic-tac, sorry, tic-tac-toe. I'll put it all together. Plus, 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 minus, 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 minus. All right, so I have a plus here and I have a minus here. So plus, minus, that means my answer has to be negative. So that means 4 divided by negative 4 will be negative 1 equals, and I do not need that 1 anymore, k equals 1. All right, so what do you think I'm going to ask you to do here? I'm going to ask you to push pause, but the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this for you. It may help you. Some students have a hard time because this is second, but this can just be, remember to keep the sign with the 3y, because it's negative 3y plus 7 equals 34. Pause. Then come back and check. Hopefully students have paused. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate. Using the inverse property, I want to remove this 7. So I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. That eliminates this. I'm left with negative 3y plus 0 equals 34 minus 7. They are different, so I subtract them. In case you need to do this, I want to make sure I'm right. So it's 27. Which one of these two numbers are further from 0? 34 is further from 0, so it stays positive 27. Okay. Do I need this anymore? No. So I'm going to do negative 3y equals 27. Negative 3, this means, let's see if I can, negative 3y means negative 3 times y, so I'm going to divide both sides by negative 3. So y equals 27 divided by negative 3. Well, if I look at my tic-tac-toe right above, I have a positive and a negative. So I'm in the situation that I was in before. I have a positive, I have a negative. So to play tic-tac-toe, my answer has to be negative. So therefore my answer is 27 divided by 3, it's 9. So y equals negative 9. Okay, those are all the problems from this. So go ahead and hit submit or finish the worksheet and turn that in. You probably have something else that you will be doing in order to practice for these, but remember they will not necessarily involve all of the rules with the fractions and all those things, but you will definitely be paying attention to positives and negatives every time. Expect it. Every single time you have to think positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative. And I will hope to see you guys soon.